Thank you all for coming out tonight. I appreciate it. I know you got to be here anyway, but I appreciate you coming. It's important. It's an important time to take out of your week to kind of get remember that you're a part of here. You know what I'm saying? Because we go out to our lives, we go out to work, we start doing our own thing, and really quickly we forget that we're part of something. We're part of a program. You know what I'm saying? We're here. As one, we're part of a body. You know what I mean? I remember when I first got sober, me going out to work and everything, I got caught up in the monotonous. I got caught up daily. The grind, the 9 to 5, whatever. You know what I mean? I think I was going earlier than that, but I would get caught up at work. You know what I mean? I get caught up. I start forgetting why I was here. I start forgetting that I see other people doing stuff, and I'm like, I'm like, that looks fun and stuff like that. And my old me starts creeping back in. You know what I mean? Slowly but surely, man, he starts showing from the surface, and I start getting these crazy ideas, and I start forgetting that that I'm an addict, that I have issues, that I can't do this. I can't do things that other people do. But we get so caught up on a daily that we forget. You know what I'm saying? So this is important. You know what I mean? It was important for me to have somebody that was like me to get up in front of me and say, I'm just like you. You know what I mean? And I was able to do this. Like, I was able to crawl out of the sewer, out of the gutter, clean myself up. You know what I mean? Years went by, and I'm no better than you. You know what I mean? But I have some time, and I can say that I made it. And that was important for me to hear these things. You know what I mean? When I was, I would sit down, and I didn't want to hear from psychiatrists. I didn't want to hear from doctors. I didn't want to hear from people that knew nothing about what I was going through. You know what I'm saying? You can read all the textbooks in the world. You could be the smartest guy in the world, but if you didn't go through what I went through, it was hard for me to relate to you. You know what I mean? So when somebody got in front of the room and was like, hey, man, I've been through exactly what you've been through, and I made it out, that automatically piqued my attention. I'm focused now. I want to know how you made it out. You know what I mean? And that was pivotal for me in the beginning, was to hear the message that, you can make it, you can do this too. You know what I mean? That was very, it was instrumental, you know what I mean, in my recovery, to have somebody do that for me, and kind of show me and guide me the way. So, this meeting was always good for me to take time out of my day, of my work week, you know what I mean, to sit down and focus and remember why I'm here, and that I'm a part of a body, and that I'm part of something. You know what I mean? So, we may talk crap about this meeting, or I don't want to go. I hear it all the time. You know what I mean? I don't want to go. We gotta go to that meeting, dude. It's one a week. It's an hour a week. You know what I mean? It's not that bad. You put your big boy bands on, sit down. You know what I mean? Relax and listen to some recovery. You know what I mean? It's not hard. We need to be reminded. For me, it was daily. I needed to be reminded daily. You know what I mean? That I was messed up. That I needed help. That I needed to be shown the way. I needed to be led the way. You know what I mean? Because I forget so quickly where I came from. I forget. I get a little bit of money. I get a good job. You know what I mean? I start talking to a girl. And next thing you know, I forget all about that. You know what I mean? All about me and where I came from is right out the window. And I'm right back to doing what I was doing. Because our minds have a tendency to forget where we came from really, really quick. And we see it all the time. You know what I mean? Guys going in and out because they forget so fast. You know what I mean? You got to remember what it was like, the struggle. And so we like bringing people in that have been through it, that are a part of Greenhouse, that have gone through the struggle just like you guys, and have made it. You know what I mean? It went down the road a little further than some. I have a gentleman that's going to speak tonight, John. He's in a discipleship program. When John came in, he was an angry guy, man. He was angry. He reminded me of me to the T. You know what I mean? He was angry at the world. He was angry at life. He still deals with anger issues. You know what I mean? But he was a very angry guy, and I got to see him grow and thrive and kind of let that go. And now he's leading other guys. You know what I mean? And it's not an easy thing to do, to lead a house and lead brothers the right way. You know what I mean? It's very hard. It takes, you have to get managing skills really fast. You got to pick up on stuff quick. You got to de-escalate things. You know what I mean? You can't let your guard down. You can't be, too nice or too soft or whatever. You know what I mean? People run all over you. It's a hard job. It's not easy. You know what I mean? And John's doing very well at it. He's thriving at it. He's came a long way. He's been in this program for a little bit. He's done everything we've asked him to do and then some. You know what I mean? He makes all his meetings. He comes on time. He's never late. He's done everything that was asked of him, and he does some more. You know what I mean? So, it's important to give back, do what's asked of you. You know what I mean? Because if I knew the way, I wouldn't be sitting in these seats. You know what I mean? If I knew the way, I wouldn't be going in and out of rehab. If I knew the way, I wouldn't be at Greenhouse. You know what I mean? If I was so smart, I wouldn't be here. I would have got this a long time ago, but I'm not. You know what I mean? When it comes to this, I'm ignorant. I'm stupid. I can't figure this out. I keep bashing my head against the wall over and over and over again until I admit that I don't know the way. You know what I mean? Until I ask somebody, show me the way, man. I don't know how to do this on my own. You know what I mean? I have no idea how to do this. Please help me. And that's where I was at on my last run. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of people that are going to change and grow and prosper, because the fact of the matter is they say 2% of us is going to make it. I remember a guy came in, he was speaking to my rehab, and he said 2% of you are going to make it out of this whole entire rehab that's here now. I think there's like 109. There was a lot of people there. There was a lot of people. I mean, it was a whole auditorium packed full of us. And I was like, this was my last time in rehab, and I was like, I raised my hand, and I'm like, I'm going to be one of those guys. Or I said it to him afterwards or whatever, and he was like, everybody says that, dude. He's like, everybody says that to me. He's like, if you want this, dude, you got to go after it harder than anything you ever went for before. It's just as hard as you went out there and got drugs. That's just as hard as you're going to want this. Every single day is going to be a struggle, especially in the beginning. Then time goes by, it gets monotonous. You do the same thing over and over. You get bored with life. You start thinking, I need more money. I need this. I need that. You know what I'm saying? You get a little bit of things. You get ungrateful. You want more. I've been through all this, dude. I don't want to be in this place. I hate this place. My life sucks. Poor me. Because it's all about me, right? It's all about Matt and what he wants and what he doesn't have. You know what I mean? And that attitude takes me right out of here. To make it, you really got to grind. You really got to want this. Things get monotonous. Time goes by, you know what I mean? And you still have to stay in it daily. You got to remember what brought you in here and that you don't want to go back to this. You know what I'm saying? And what I see in John is every day he's trying to do better than he did the day before. You know what I'm saying? And that's all that really matters, is trying to do what you do better. You know what I mean? When I lay my head down, I think about what I could have done better, who I could have talked to better. You know what I mean? Who was I a little bit aggressive with? Maybe I go through all kinds of stuff. You know what I mean? Like when I'm doing my job, sometimes I blow people off. I'm always doing a million things. I might not make eye contact or whatever. I'm doing stuff. You know what I mean? And I feel bad. I think about these things at night. But the thing is, you got to just think about what you can do better. You know what I mean? And I see in John, he's doing better every day. You know what I mean? He's striving, to be the best man that he can be. You know what I mean? And he wanted to go to discipleship on his own. Nobody forced him to go to that. You know what I mean? He wanted to get closer to the Lord. He wanted to follow, Jesus. He was very adamant about that. You know what I mean? From when I first met him, he's like, that's what I want to do. I think I need to be in that program. I think that's what's really going to set me free. I think that's the only thing that I haven't tried before. And he's right. You know what I mean? That will set you free. The things that we have tried in the past over and over and over again and failed is because we always pick what we want to do. You know what I mean? A la carte. I'll take some of this. I'll take some of that. You know what I mean? I'll do this. I'm not doing that. You know what I mean? I was the master at that, dude. Yeah, I'll do sort of this stuff, and I'll talk a good game, and I'm very good at talking, and I'll manipulate my way and all this crazy stuff. You know what I mean? Instead of just doing things that people ask me to do. You know what I mean? Simple things. Believe in God. Admit that you're powerless. You know what I mean? Admit that you're defeated over this, that you cannot do this on your own. You know what I mean? But I just couldn't do those simple things. You know what I mean? It's not easy. So I'm kind of taking the focus off John now, but I want to bring him up. I want to bring him up here. Sorry, I want to bring him up here. I want to have him share his story. You know what I mean? And share where he came from. You can see the hope, and you can see somebody that's got a little bit more time than you, and that it worked for him. You know what I'm saying? If it worked for him, it can work for you. If you just put some effort into it, man. You've got to put effort in. You're not going to get nothing out of this. Nothing changes if nothing changes. You know what I'm saying? So just be mindful. It's not easy to get up here and talk in front of people. You know what I'm saying? It's not easy. Not everybody's good at it. Not saying John's bad at it. I'm just saying be respectful. Be mindful. Please put your cell phones on mute if they're not on mute. You know what I mean? Let's be respectful for our brother and welcome him up here. Love you, man. Yep.
Haven't been put on a pedestal like that in a long time, man. Yeah, thank you. Hi guys, my name's John. For in case any of you don't know me, most of you guys know me. It's been here for a minute. I'm going to lead us in prayer before we start. It's the right way to go. Get a blessing going. Father God, thank you for this time with these brothers here, this fellowship in Greenhouse Recovery on this Monday night. Thank you for your grace, Father. Thank you for the love that you show each and every one of these men in this room, and for the salvation that you bring before us, Father, for it's important that we see that. I ask that you give me the courage to sit here, to have an open mind. Just come out of my mouth for me, Father, and just help me to maybe help somebody in this room. That's all I'm trying to do right now. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. I've never done nothing like this before. This is the first time I've ever spoken in front of a whole room. I got no problem talking. Everybody knows that. But I've spoken to psychiatrists, I've spoken to doctors, I've spoken to certain family members, but never a large group like this. One thing about me is I've come to a point in my life to where I can decipher right from wrong for once in my life, to where I can see the end game. I can see what I need to do to get to the end game, and I'm going to be honest with everybody in here. It is because of Greenhouse. Without Greenhouse, I would have had nothing. I came here with nothing. Like Matt said, I was angry. I was frustrated. I was just out of rehab. I was in a 10-day mental hospital in Horsham before that. I was out of my mind. I relapsed and I fell hard this time. And it took a lot for me to, get up the courage to say, hey, listen, I want to go do something different. Like Matt said, I want to go to a place that's based with God, and to where I can learn from my mistakes and grow with people. Get closer to my family, rekindle a relationship with all three of my sons. They're all grown men. They were at the point they were going to disown me. And it's the one thing that you don't want in life. Take my word for it, is your kids to do that to you. I love them very much. I've ruined marriages, 2 of them, to be honest with you. And I'm going to get into that. I'm going to tell my story now, my testimony. I'm going to start from when I was a young kid, about 10 years old. The last time I can really fully remember what really started my path to destruction. I was molested as a kid. It's a tragic thing that people have to go through. You hear that time and time again about people. I was one of them children that got molested. I couldn't tell nobody because I was raised in a family of bikers, pagans, warlocks, Hell's Angels, all together, all uncles, aunts, all bikers. And I couldn't tell nobody because I was afraid if I did that, they were going to kill the person that did it. So I didn't want to do that. I was afraid for that person's life more than on my own. And I was confused about why it happened. How could somebody do that to me? How could somebody do that to a child? How could somebody do something like that? But it wasn't even part of the molestation part that was bad when I was 10 years old. It was my family. My family wants to portray that they're a loving family when indeed they're not. They were polluted. It was chaotic. It was full of hatred. You know what I mean? Where they say they loved each other, but as soon as you turned your back, they were talking about you. I seen it. I lived it. And so I was beaten. I used to get beaten by my father for the dumbest things. I grew up in Fairmount in Philadelphia, which is actually a decent neighborhood. But still, like any other neighborhood in Philly, it has its drugs, its alcohol, its gangs. It has all the soup to nuts. It has it. It's just hidden. You know what I mean? Until recently, Fairmount, was a neighborhood where it was all families, but now it's yuppies now, so it's even more prestige to live there. It costs more money to live there. I still have family that live there. Yeah, so, I would do things that any normal kid would do, but instead of being punished, I would get beat because my father was a drug addict. My father was an alcoholic. My mother was a drug addict. My mother was an alcoholic. My sister was a piece of garbage. My brothers were pieces of garbage. They never looked out for me. Nobody looked out for me except for my one uncle, who's died at a young age, so I really didn't have nobody to guide me. I had a priest at St. Francis Xavier School who I didn't trust because he was touching friends of mine, and I don't want to get into that. That's not the point of my testimony, but just something that added to the mentality of me growing up. I was into sports. I was actually very good at baseball. I'm not going to say I was one of the best baseball players in all Philadelphia, but I was up there. I had a chance to go far in baseball, but I ruined that. And I'll get into that. But yeah, I had friends, girlfriends, friends. Always was running cliques with kids that were always doing bad things. We would burn houses down. We would go into Fairmount Park. We'd burn the railroad tracks down. We were all in the Austin for some reason. It was this gang out, this clique I ran with, and caught up to me. And my father would, even though he beat me and all that, he would still try to be a good father, and he would be like, I don't want you hanging with them. I don't want you doing this. I don't want you going down to the Schuylkill River to go fishing by yourself. I don't want you doing stuff like that by yourself. Okay. Of course, I didn't do what he said. You know what I mean? I rebelled. I thought I was a biker too, not for nothing. So, you live that life in that area, in that space, and that's exactly what you get out of that. You do what the product is raising you to be. But as time went by, I was 14 years old, and unfortunately, it was me and a couple of buddies of mine. We were playing with matches, and we lit a abandoned car on fire. There happened to be a bum in the back of the seat of the car. He got burned on fire alive. God rest his soul. I paid for that every day of my life, even up to now. It still sits bad with me, even though God has forgiven me. It's just a tragic thing that happened. It was an accident. It was never meant to be like that. It wasn't intentional. So I went through this whole thing. I stayed in school. I went to the youth study center, and I got out on bail, $100,000 bail, mind you, at 14 years old. And I continued going to school. My lawyer told me the better grades I get, the better it looks in front of the judge in the court. Keep playing sports, it looks good, the scholarships and all that stuff, whatever he was telling me I did. So when I was just about 16 years old, I got convicted. I had to plead out to a 4 to 10. They were looking to give me life because the people that were related to this guy were powerful people in Philadelphia. One of the guy's nephews was running for mayor of Philadelphia at the time. So it was a pretty political thing. And my father and my uncles, they spent all the drug money on me for a lawyer. It was gone. And but they did. It was the one good thing they did for me that they did that. They actually showed a lot of love and support, even though I did something tragic like that. And they got me through it. Yeah, so I went to prison. I went to Camp Hill in 1987. And when I tell you it was the scariest time of my life, there's not a day to this day that scares me as much as that first day in prison. When that door slammed behind me, it was the first time. I was a Roman Catholic growing up. I just told you I went to St. Francis Xavier School. I went to Roman Catholic High School. I played football at Marvin Harrison. It was like my life got pulled out of me, like my soul just left. And I remember standing there looking at the wall, not even looking at the cell door behind me, and I'm looking out the window, this old disgusting jail in Camp Hill, and I seen God, I thought I saw God. And I just said, put my head down, I said, please help me, Father, please protect me. You know what I mean? I'm asking you to get me through this. And, he did. He did. There was a lot of, things I'm not going to talk about, as far as the prison stuff goes. I'm not going to get into that because that's not necessary. Everybody knows what it's like in there. There's no beefing it up. There's no fun times. There's no, saying, oh, I did this, I did that. That was great. No. You're in jail. It's bad. But I was in the Camp Hill riot in 1989. Over 3,000 inmates broke out of the cell units, burnt down the mod units, burnt down the library, burnt down this building, burnt down that building, had 50 guards hostage, had women hostage. We all know what happens there, so I'll leave that alone. And I had to deal with that for 3 days. But fortunately, I had friends that I rolled around with from Kensington, old heads, that, they took me under their wing and they looked out for me. And if I didn't have them, a lot of bad things would happen to me. I probably would have got raped. I probably would have been killed. It just a simple fact of life. That's what would have probably happened. And I got through it. And I got to be honest with you, the whole time I'm doing it, I'm praying to God. I'm like, please, Father, I can't deal. This is just crazy. And it was the most horrific thing I've seen besides Hurricane Sandy. And so I'm going to get into something real quick, and I want to talk about a real quick thing here. Ephesians 2:8-9. For you are saved by grace through faith, and this is not from yourselves; it is from God's gift, not from works, so that no one can boast. Salvation is a free gift from God, received through in faith by grace, rather than earned through humans' effort or works. It emphasizes that no more can boast about this salvation, as it is entirely indicated by God's kindness. This foundational Christian doctrine shifts the focus from self-righteousness to God's grace. So that's something that's been helping me and has helped me. So I wanted to share that with everybody. Hopefully that touches somebody that's in here like it did to me. Okay, so I'm going to get into my life leading up to my second marriage now. So I got out of prison. I was on parole for 6 years. I had a 4 to 10. I didn't violate until the end of that. I violated one time, and it was at the end of the 6 years because I got into doing heavy, coke and drinking. So I was with, Chianti. We have a mutual person we know. So my ex-wife, Jennifer, we were together, and we had 3 kids together. My first 2 boys were born in Philly, John Jr. and Howie. And, things were going all right. It was a normal thing. I go to the bar and, weekends with everybody, shoot darts, shoot pool. We had like 6 local bars in the neighborhood, so everybody went to different bars. Everybody knows how Philly is. And, things just smoothed along. They coasted along, no big deal. Wasn't really addicted to nothing, wasn't really doing anything. But I was a cheater. So I used to cheat on my wife. I used to cheat religiously on her. I used to cheat on her all the time. I couldn't stop. We'd start doing the cocaine, and the girls were doing the cocaine, and one thing led to another, and then you're doing it, and then, now you're a scumbag because you cheated on your wife. I had to live with that, and that's something I still live to. I've been forgiven for by her and God. And, it's not who I am anymore, and, that was a big factor of what comes next in my life. So I take my family, and I had a great job in Fairmount. I worked for my cousin, the Loonstons, who owned half of Fairmount, the Loonston Corporation. My cousin Johnny told me everything about carpentry. My Uncle Bill was the roofer. My cousin Joey, and they were the roofers, and I thrived with them. I did good. I made $65 a day cash back in the 90s, which is pretty decent. What I mean? I worked every Saturday. We didn't work all day. In the summertime, we worked till 2 o'clock. We were on the fire hydrants with soap afterwards, getting washed off. Hanging out in the corners, drinking beer, and just kicking it. And that led to the trouble because I wasn't able to stop at 1 or 2. Even though my wife is yelling out the window, get your butt home. Like, I know I could see you down in the corner hiding, you know what I mean? Ducking behind the thing. She's yelling out the window. She could see me. And, I would keep it going all night, stay up all night high and just stumble in at 7 in the morning. And go right to bed and then wake up to the consequences. So all that went on. And in 1998, my second son was born. He was probably about a year old, Howie, and we decided to move down towards Wildwood, towards my mother lived down there. And my 2 best friends, Johnny and Jimmy Barbera, lived down there. And, we decided to, work together down there and, make a living down there. And just, it's beautiful down the shore. Who doesn't like the shore? Like, you know what I mean? We moved to the Villas, which is like right before North Cape May. A lot of people from Philly moved there, especially up, Kensington area. And Fairmounters, Kensingtons, we all, that was that. And things were going good down there at first. I stopped, I stopped with the dumb stuff. I had a thing with her. She wasn't going to go with me unless I did, and I did. For probably about 2 or 3 months. My mother, she also, said she wasn't going to come around me if I started acting like my father, because when my mother left my father before I went to prison, she straightened her life out. She became a Christian. She remarried, and she just lived a beautiful life. My mother, God rest her soul. And so I'm down there, and it's the shore. Everybody, Jersey Shore. It was the 90s. Ecstasy just came out. It was a troubling time, man. And it was like, I fell into the trap, man. I couldn't stop. I couldn't stop, man. And then I end up having a third son, Kyle, and I just I chose drugs and alcohol for my family, and I'm ashamed of that, and I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life. And it's hard when you get sober and all these things they run through your mind, and it comes through about what really happened to your life, and then when you're honest with yourself and you see all that, you're like, man, I wish I could just go back. Man, could I just go back and just bring God into my life and not do that? Like, you know what I mean? I would have been a millionaire by now. There's other things that happened in my life I'm going to get into. So I ran into money. And I'll just get right into that. My brother Tom, well, my wife left me down in Cape May. She went back to Fairmount. Her father came down and picked up my entire house was gone. She took everything, U-Haul truck. I went to work one day. My brother Jim, I'm going to call my brother. My brother Jim, he was living out back, renting the back part of the place I had, from me with his baby and his girlfriend. I opened the door, I looked at him I was like, Jimmy's looking at me like, damn, dog, she took everything. And that was that, you know what I mean? And so I dealt with that for about 3 weeks, got severely depressed. I actually really for the first time thought about suicide. And I started eating Xannies and drinking. And my father, I wouldn't answer my father's phone calls. So him and my sister Teresa come from Staten Island, and my father moved to New York years ago, and they come down to my house unexpectedly, and I'm on the couch, banged out. And my father kicks in the door. He didn't even knock, he just kicked it right in. My father was, he was a tough guy. He was just one of them guys. And, he picked me up off the couch, stood me up, shook me. I'm looking at him, I wanted to fight him, but I didn't. I just didn't have it in me to do it, And thank God I didn't, because he was, being a father for once. And, I got my stuff together that I had, and my sister took me to her house in Staten Island. So, in comes New York. So I moved to New York, and it was good. New York was good, and a big but, I let overwhelming circumstances and idiocy overtake my life. I had life by the cojones, but I had a union job. And everybody in here knows if you work for the union, you're getting paid big money. I worked for Local 926 in Brooklyn. My cousin Sal was the president, so I had a job every single day. Didn't have to worry about it. I worked every day, overtime, Saturdays, double time. Just making money hand over fist, crazy money, side jobs. So I thought it was a good idea because I met certain people, which I definitely can't talk about, and I would never talk about, only to God, that influenced me to make more money. And I started down that road, and I started making more money. Now, we all know the more money you make, the flashier you become, the more arrogant you become. You just become a person that you're not. That's not who you are. You just become somebody that you're not. And for everything that you take, you got to give back. It has to come back. It has to come around full circle. That's I don't care who you are. And I don't care about what you think it's going to be, but it's going to come back full circle. It has, and it will. So I saw it was a good idea to start selling cocaine on the job sites. To the plumbers, to the electricians. I'm working in 90-story high rises in Manhattan, and I'm selling cocaine like a maniac, like a stupid person. The devil just had his clamps on me. Satan was in my head. I can basically honestly tell you that I felt like I was possessed by a demon. Like I couldn't resist it. I couldn't fight it. I just couldn't do it. I tried, and I failed miserably every day. So that all started going away, little by little. Missing work, not calling in, getting laid off from one job, getting another chance, going to another job, after another job, after another job. This went on for about a year. And then finally, my cousin Sal said to me, he said, listen, if you do it one more time, you're done. And you're not just done, you're done. You're done. That's the kind of people I was working with. And I got scared. I got scared, and I took my girlfriend I had with me at the time. I had like $10,000 saved up, and I moved to Florida. Now, in the meantime, in that going on, my kid brother's still with me. And I raised my kid brother from, my mother wanted to put him in a home, and I wouldn't allow it. Me and my first wife, we took him in as a son. I raised him, put him through school, Tommy. And he went into the Army. He made a choice. He said, I'm not going to be like you. I'm going to do something with my life. And he went into the military. So I said, okay, good. I'm proud of you. I support you. It's all good. I'll send you packages, whatever you need. You know what I mean? It's cool. And he got scared too. He got scared for me though. He didn't get scared for himself because he even told me, he said, "You got to go. They're going to do something to you that you're not going to come back from." And I did. I went to Florida. I moved down to Clearwater. Again, a golden opportunity to be somewhere beautiful. I mean, Clearwater is fantastic. Fishing, beaches, restaurants, whatever you need. There's churches everywhere, and it's the Bible Belt. You know what I mean? It's a wonderful place. The people are just so open-minded, and I took that with me. I brought it down there, and it's a shame because the girl that was my girlfriend at the time, she was a good woman, who I ran all over, manipulated, lied to, cheated on, still cheating, and she put up with it. I don't maybe because she was 10 years older than me. I guess I was a little Johnny Bear. I don't know, but she put up with it, and so anyway, my brother Tommy died. He died, and I got a phone call on Father's Day at about 2:30 in the morning. My father called me freaking out, crying. I'm like, "You got to calm down. What's going on? Your brother's dead." I broke down. I through the phone. I didn't have nothing to say to my father, and I lost my mind. I totally thought I lost my own life. Like it was like losing a son. It was like one of the worst things that ever happened to me. And I didn't come out of that for a long time. I stayed in that rut for so long. It turns out when he died, he made me his sole beneficiary. So in the military, you get it's what's called an SGLI. It's $250,000 plus another $150,000. So it's $400,000 that you get, non-negotiable, non-taxable, one lump sum, boom. I kind of did the right thing at first with it. My dad, talked me out. I went to the funeral, all the family and friends and stuff like that. It was a very tragic thing, and he won at 24 years old. He died, and it was plus all my mental illness that I was dealing with. I didn't know I had. You know what I mean? That didn't come out yet. My mental illness didn't even surface yet. Wasn't even thought of, and that was the biggest problem of all. But I'll get into that. But I thought I was Tony Montana. I had, again, new bikers, so I knew bikers, the Outlaws down in Florida, and I was friends with them. They wanted me to initiate with them and become one of them. I refused that and just stayed friends with them. But I had the connection. I had the tattoo guys. I had everything. The women, the bikes, just that life. And I decided to buy a kilo of cocaine. And it was the worst thing I ever did, besides cheating on my wife. It was such a bad decision. I sold it. I did it. I did most of it. I don't know how I didn't die. My brother Jimmy, I moved my brother Jimmy down to Florida with me because he was going through stuff with his baby mama, and he really didn't have nowhere to live. So I moved him down. I had an extra room. He moved in with me. I bought him all his stuff. I bought him a car, and he left me. He left me because I was that bad. And this is a man that we stuck together. Conte knows Jimmy. We stuck together like peas and rice, like peas and carrots or whatever you want to say. Like we're still there for each other. And he said, "Dude, I can't do it no more. You're going to kill yourself. I got to go, bro." I bought him an airplane ticket and I sent him home. And I didn't stop. I didn't listen to him. Right now, Jimmy's doing great. Jimmy's sober for over 9 years now. My brother Jimmy got his own business down in Wildwood, New Jersey. He's doing fantastic. He's got his daughter just went to the military, so I can take a page out of his book now. You know what I mean? And finally do something that's right. But yeah, this went on. I lost everything. I bought a house for $150,000, a beautiful home in a town called Denellen, which is right outside of Ocala. It's right on the Ozella Keys. Just beautiful place. It's tragic. But anyway, we live and we learn. And I ended up having to sell the house before I lost it, the taxes, because I went through all the money. Had all the amenities, pool tables. I had an air hockey table, but to go into the stadium, I had a real one. I had a pinball machine. I had an electric dartboard. I had everything. I had stereos, TVs, a pool, in-ground pool in the back. I had everything, and I was in paradise. And it was too much for me. I wasn't ready for it yet. I was self-destructing. And I remember my uncle telling me, he said, "You are allergic to money." He said, "You're scared of money." And I never knew what he meant by that. You know what I mean? Until later. But that's obvious. I was terrible at money. I just didn't care. I made it and I spent it. I should have been a millionaire by now. All the money I made in New York, all the money I made in Philly, all the money I made in Jersey, the money that was left to me, all the money I made up to this point, I should have had well over $2 million. I should have been a millionaire. I had it, like, you know what I mean? And just, it's not God's plan. Just so everybody understands that. That's not God's plan for me. It's not there. It's not. God is right now is working in my life, and he's providing for me to where I have money, and I'm good with money now. I don't spend money. I'm not fruitless with it. You know what I mean? Frivolous, whatever you want to say. I'm just a different man nowadays. I actually matured and grew up at 53 years old. So in case anyone wondering how old I am, that's how old I am, 53. I'll be 54 in March, so I'm even older. Jimmy. No, but yeah, so I lost everything. I called my father. I said, I got like $180,000. I'm going to come back to Philly. But he wasn't living in Philly. He was living in Delaware County and Clifton Heights over there. With his second wife, he moved back in with. So he left New York and he went back there. And, my father got old and, he's just not doing well. So they had a third floor they weren't using. They gave it to me and Gail, and they said, no problem, you come back. I told my just call her mom. I'd be like, Helen, who's my sister Angel's mother. I said, I give you $3,000. And she's like, I don't need that. I said, I'll just give it to you, pay the bills or whatever. She's like, oh my gosh, it was the greatest thing ever happened to her. Because her son Terry and my sister Angel always used to take our money. So I was like the jackpot coming there. Raging alcoholic, by the way, Helen. Raging alcoholic. Gallon of vodka a day. So that wasn't good. I moved right into that. My father at that point quit doing drugs. He just smoked weed. He never associated. He didn't like the fact that I was getting high. He always used to talk me out of it. I never listened to him. But being around Helen, hey, you want a drink? Sure, why not? Let me get two. So that turned into an everyday thing. And that led into hanging out with my sister, and that led into doing crack. And then comes crack. So we all know where that leads. Right. Okay, so that happened. I lost all my money again. And as I'm losing my money, I lost my girlfriend. She's gone. She said I had enough. She went back down to Florida to her mother. And yeah, so all this time I'm still not divorced from my wife, by the way. I'm still she went off and did her thing, but we're still together. Yeah, we didn't get divorced, you know what I mean? She's doing her thing, I'm doing my thing. We're still talking, it's all good, whatever. You know what I mean? And so I start getting in trouble. I start doing stupid things. I start robbing people. I start boosting stuff. I'm not going to sit there and butter this up. I'm just a good thief. I would take it, strong arm it, whatever. You know what I mean? Pistol whip you, I take it. I didn't care. I became that guy. I wasn't that guy when I was younger, but New York made me that guy. And I allowed it to happen. And it caught up to me. So I ended up getting, here comes the second jail number. Burglary and burglary by force. Guy tried to stop me from taking his things. I beat him with a drill. I knocked him out with a drill. Then I ate that. So I went back to jail. I left, I ran from that. I ended up going back up with Jen to the Poconos where she lived. She let me come with her up there the stairs. I had nowhere to go. I'm up there with my sons and I'm driving around drunk. I crash a car, I get a DUI. Thank God nobody wrote. My son Howie got a little hurt. There was another kid in the car. He didn't get hurt though. Thank God. He had a seatbelt on. I don't know what I was thinking, but that's how that happened. And I got a DUI, and I wasn't done. I still kept going. I started robbing and stealing. I was doing crazy stuff. I got caught again in Carbon County. So now I'm in Northampton County, and I'm in Carbon County, and I'm in Philadelphia County. And I got 3 counties. You know what I mean? I got to answer to. So I got lucky. God's been looking out for me for a very, very, very long time, and he's not done with me. And I praise him every day now, and I can't thank him enough for everything he's done in my life. But I was given a 1 to 3 years, or 1 to 5 for that one, because the judge in Carbon County didn't like me because I told him something about his mother, and he gave me the maximum on one of the things, which was a 1 to 5. But Northampton County gave me 1 to 3. So he said, nah, it's not good enough. You're doing a 1 to 5. And it was a violent crime, so I did more than a year. I had to do the TC program. But that's when I went to Laurel Highlands. I was in Laurel Highlands, which is where I got introduced to the 215. I mean, hey, you're Irish. You might as well come with us. Led to more crazy stuff. And that's where I learned about Suboxone. I started doing a little bit of heroin. And, I dabbed in everything. I never really got addicted to the heroin. Thank God. It's just not something that I got into. But I was, I dipped and dabbed. And, while I was in jail, it's easy to get in prison. Guards bring it in, or, visits, or just wherever it's coming from, it's just easy to get. It's ready at your disposal. And I got released out of there, and I made a halfway house, man. I got out. I went to a halfway house right outside of Reading, where there's nothing. There's nothing there. You take a bus into Reading, and that's it. There's no other buses to go nowhere. You can go to Lebanon. That's just as bad. So I was stuck. You know what I mean? I had no car, no license. I couldn't get my license back yet. Suspended from the DUI. I had to wait another year on top of that because of a drug charge. So now I'm stuck. So I was doing good though. I did good. I got a little job at this place in Birdsboro. I don't know if you ever heard of that place. It's right near Reading. And I was doing casting. I was in a casting, aluminum castings, grinding it on the wheel. I was in the where they melt it and they do all that stuff. I did that for about 3 months, and I got hurt. The grinder caught my finger and it pulled my arm out of socket. It was terrible, and I got workers' comp. So now I'm in a halfway house with workers' comp. I'm getting paid every 2 weeks, doing nothing, going back and forth to Reading. I started drinking. I mean, I knew the people at the door to the halfway house, so they didn't give me breathalyzers every day. So I started drinking again. So I decided it was a good idea to go on a dating website. So let me find something. I gotta find something, right? And now everybody we gotta find something, right? I mean, you need it, like, gotta have it, right? So I decided to do that, and I found my second wife, Chastity, the devil. That's who I found, Mo. She was not a good person. I regret it to this day. But I feel like that God led me that way for humility, and He just wasn't done with me yet. Because I wasn't done. He wasn't done either, So He brought us two together, and at first it was great. She's a good-looking woman. Her family's from Texas, so she got that little slang, so it's cute the way she talks and all that. And we got along famously. I got a furlough, and sure enough, I went right to her house, the first furlough for the weekend, and one weekend led into move in, and that was it. We talked for about a month on the phone before we did that, and then she decided it was a time for me to leave the halfway house and move in with her. Plus, her brother John was a carpenter, and he had a job for me. Worked out perfect. And this is right before COVID, by the way. This is a month before COVID. So I move in with her. COVID happens. Things are going smooth. Where I didn't cheat on her. I didn't do nothing like that. I was trying to change my life. But I was drinking. I was just drinking beers, but I was drinking them, and that was definitely part of the problem. One night I got drunk. Her brother had a party, and I got drunk, and for some reason I flipped out, and I just decided to leave and told everybody to go do something with themselves for no reason, and just walked home. And she drove around looking for me, and I come home, the cops were there. Instant reaction. You call the cops on me. She didn't call the cops. The cops just happened to be there. It was just a plain old thing. So I come up, the cops are like, "What's your name?" This, that, and the other thing. And I tell them I'm sitting down. They're like, "Well, we have reports of you going through the neighborhoods, throwing things at people." I'm like, "Me?" I said, "Not me. That wasn't me." Like, "Yeah, it was you." I'm like, No, it really wasn't me. I just walked from my brother-in-law's house. I came right to here. What way did you take? Now, I already know the area, so I, obviously lied and told them a different way. They're like, okay, well, if we got any questions, we'll come back and talk to you. As soon as they left, I went to her car. I had my tools in there. I took a saw, and I just tried to throw a saw at her. You know what I mean? Cops came back. I ran. People called the guy. I ran. I left the apartment building. We were living in a bed and breakfast in Palmyra, PA, which is right outside of Hershey, and we had the third floor. Yeah, it's just but it's one of them old 110-year-old houses. It's just gigantic. So I'm down in the basement, like in the boiler room, hiding, crouched down, looking out the window. They left. I left. They're like, whatever. They wrote me a summons, though. They wrote me a ticket, and they gave it to her. And anyway, so COVID hit, and things got, they got crazy. Nobody was working. So I got a call from Staten Island. Hey, you want to come redo my house for me? A friend of mine, this guy John. I said, let me talk to my PO. You know what I mean? Maybe I can work something out. I said, he was a first responder, so he was able to travel back and forth when it was the restriction. So that enabled me to go to Staten Island. She was okay with it. So I would go 2 weeks at a time, work, come home for a weekend, go back for another week, come back for a weekend. I did this for about a month and a half. Made a ton of money. Made a killing. I killed it. And After the first month and a half, I completed one part of the job, and what I do, I got high. Staten Island, baby. So I brought that home. You know, I disappeared one night in Staten Island. I went to go play poker with some people that just are not good people, and it was one of my things. And I shut my phone off, and she tried to call me, and I didn't know. We all know what happens when it happens. Like you're doing the worst possible thing you're doing. You're cheating. So I got blamed for cheating. I insisted I was playing poker. Why'd you shut your phone off? I said, because the people I'm waiting, you're not allowed to have cell phones while you're there. Okay, so why didn't you tell me? I don't know. She said, you did something. So I told her, I said, I got high. I said, I was doing coke and I was playing poker. So we went through this big old thing, and now she don't trust me. So I had to go back to Staten Island. And she's like, you're not going. I'm like, I gotta go. I got no choice. I said, I gotta go. I can't. If I don't do this job, we have no money. There's no money coming. It's COVID. Like, I have to go. So I went, and we would argue at night, the whole time, every night. My cousin Sally even heard it. He would even tell her, he's with me. He's not doing anything wrong. Like, why are you yelling at him for? It was just a big deal. I don't want to bore you guys with that stuff. I know everybody's going through stuff like that. But the moral of the story is, it got to a point with her to where she was also on parole. I didn't tell you guys that. And she would.
We're almost out of time. Why don't you tell us
something
different?
Oh, yeah. So anyway, let me get to the point of it. So I came to find Christ this time around, and I was saved. And me being saved, it's the best thing that ever happened to me. I now walk with God. And communication in here, so everybody knows about Greenhouse, communication is the key in here. If you have communication with Matt, Pastor Ryan, Pastor Diane, Pastor John, you'll be fine in here. This is one of the places where if you communicate, you will get along. I promise you. It works for everybody. It worked for me. It works. Especially with Matt. Like, if you're with Matt, you're around Matt, just communicate with the guy. He's a great guy. Pastor Ryan also, you know what I mean? You could go to him, just communicate. Stay with the place. Stay. I've been here for going on 11 months. It works. I've never been in the scripture as much as I've been in the scripture now. I have goals. I have aspirations. I love myself. I love my family. I love all of you. I just, you know what I mean? I'm filled with love and joy. And everything that comes out of my life, I'm sorry I ran everybody's time like that. I started going off. I had that kind of life. But yeah, the bottom line is, I want to read something real quick. It's called Sleepwalking. It's from Romans 13, 11, 12. And that knowing the time, that now is high time to wake out of sleep. For now is our salvation, never then when we believed. The night is for sport, the day is at hand. Let us therefore cast off the works of darkness, and let us put on the armor of light. And that's all I have to say. Thank you, guys.
All right, so John had a lot happen to him, you know what I mean? Moral of the story is, don't sell cocaine, you know what I mean? And save your money. No, he had, he had a lot of stuff happen to him, you know what I mean? I was molested as a kid too, you know what I mean? It happens to a lot of us, and it kind of messes your whole, your whole focus up, you know what I mean, for life, and it messes with your head, and you kind of stumble through life after that, you know what I mean, especially when you have no direction, you know what I mean. John had messed up parents, my parents were messed up, you know what I mean, I had no direction. That was one of the things, you know what I mean, you learn your values at home, you learn you learn respect and dignity and how to walk through life. You should learn all those things at home, not find them things out from the street or other people, you know what I mean, like we did. So some people have a rougher start than others, you know what I mean, and it takes a while to find yourself and get better. So John is an example though of staying here, being loyal, you know what I mean, and striving to be better, you know what I mean, and following the word and believing, you know what I mean, something bigger than him, that he's not in control, that he's not the end all be all, you know what I mean, you can't control things. We let that stuff go, leave that to God, you know what I mean, he controls, you know what I mean, we deal with us, you know what I mean, I can only deal with how I'm feeling, what I'm doing, how I react to situations, how I go about life. I can't change anybody or do anything special or you know what I mean? It just doesn't work that way, but I can control me. You know what I mean? And that's the biggest thing at the end of the day. You know what I mean? It's control yourself, stay, you know what I mean? Learn, do the best that you can while you're here. You know what I mean? You get nothing, you change nothing, you do nothing. That's what you're going to get out of here. Nothing. You know what I mean? So what you do here matters. You know, take advantage of it, man. Take advantage of it while you're here. That's what this place is for, to grow and get better and thrive, and then you can move on. You know what I mean?
Visit our website, ghproject.org, and you can donate at ghproject.org/donate. Like and follow us on Facebook. Follow us on Instagram. And you can email us at info@ghproject.org. Thanks for watching.